I started in 2009, 2010, and we popped along as a chapter, going up and down. We always struggled to get people to do jobs in the chapter. We also struggled to get the membership up, and we hovered around for a while. And then we moved to Kooyong Tennis Club, which was a fantastic location, and it was a great place to introduce people to because it was an experience for some people. It was convenient and nice. And then we had a changeover, and just on changeovers, I think it's a hot debate at the moment as whether it should be 6 months or 12 months or 9 months. I think 6 months is too short. I think 12 months is too long, but that's only my opinion. You've got to let people get into it, but you can't burn them out, and 12 months burns out people, I think. Anyway, leaving that aside. So we got to the stage of having a changeover. Our changeover wasn't great. The simple message went out, who'd like to do what? Came back with no answers. No one wants to do anything. The then person in control said to Braith, no one wants to do anything, and Braith said, well, that's pretty simple, I'll shut you down. So that was a bit of a rude awakening to most of the group, because it wasn't that we didn't want to do anything, it's just we weren't as committed as we needed to be. And after some, I would say, not heated in a loud and heated way, but robust discussions between a number of people, Braith took a big leap of faith and allowed us to continue. And that's been the making of our chapter, because the 12 or 13 people that continued actually had meetings and sat down and decided whether they were really committed to this or whether it was just a plaything that they dabbled along with. And those who stayed were 100% committed. And we grasped the tools that were available to us and started our chapter again. And we renamed it, and we got moving quickly. We went 100% online. And Dr. Meisner had been an advocate of that for some years and been held down apparently, but he knew best, because I think that the benefits of being online are fantastic. I'm not saying there's not benefits of being not online, but our experience has been, firstly, you've got to have the right people in the right place. You've got to have committed members. And so there's a few rules about being online. You can't have blank faces. You can't have people going off and turning off and disappearing. You can't have people driving along in their car. So we've actually got a stated set of etiquette which says this is the way we run our meetings, and that's expected. You stay there, you're present in the meeting. We don't really have a chance for people to comment, but I think that's something we could think about. So maybe when people give their presentations, somebody might be the person who could comment and say that was really interesting or something. But anyway, at the moment we don't do that. We do record our speakers so that they can use that information for their own purposes, or someone else can see it as well. So apart from the etiquette, we also made a commitment that we would meet outside the meetings for social functions. In fact, one of the persons in our chapter here is Tom. I saw and Evangeline. They've been organising social functions outside the meetings, which are a great success. But more importantly, we try and ensure that our one-to-ones are done outside the meeting. Now, it's not always practical, but it is a very good meeting. And I didn't know Robert was going to be at this meeting, Robert Beneficio. And we had a one-to-one at 10 o'clock today. So I haven't had a 1 o'clock in face-to-face since 10 o'clock this morning. So that's an experience of my online chapter. So I think the important thing is really can't be stated enough is the culture of your group. And this hits many things. You know when you've got a member who's not performing, they're going through the motions of doing a bit of that, and then they might be even in the green, but they're not performing. And it's really hard to deal with them. So you've got to put in place processes to deal with them. You also have people who are so underperforming they need to be spoken to, and you've got to manage them out. And quite frankly, a poor performing member may not just be, in the first case, someone who's a poor performing member in the group. It affects other people, because someone else will say, well, they don't put in, I can't be bothered putting in either. And that becomes a sort of a cancerous thing that attacks the group. So it's very important to keep that culture. And I also said about employing people, a good sacking of a client or a staff member who's not performing is really good for the business, because everyone else is grinding their teeth before that happens. So we've tried to make some hard decisions. We've had applications for seats which we've actually said, no, we won't take anybody for, because they weren't the right person. We've had applications for seats that we weren't sure about, so we put in a regime where we can monitor and control that. And that takes me on to the next thing. When you get a new member, I'm sure it doesn't happen in all your chapters, but it can happen where they become a new member, everybody sighs a heave of relief saying, oh, we've got a new member, and then nothing happens. It's really important that they get on with their passport program and the rest of the group moves around them and welcomes them into the state and has one-to-ones with them so they can become a part of the chapter very quickly. Otherwise, they'll just be sitting there wondering what it's all about. So that's really important. And everyone having a role is important. And I'll go back to the disaster when we had a changeover and everybody said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do anything really. Sort of sitting back waiting to see who will stick their hand up for president or whatever. It's really important to have people experienced at all roles. So as best you can, and it's not easy for the new members, but as best you can, give everyone a role and rotate those roles around so people know what's involved, and they also know that it's not just a name on a tag saying they're going to do this. They know what's actually involved in doing it. The three major roles are very underrated in the amount of effort it takes, and you've really got to ensure people don't burn out. That's why the changeover date is a hot topic. I think 12 months was too long, 6 months probably too short. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is you've got to recognise it. And what we've managed to do in the last, say, 3 months in our chapter, we've had a few members who've been burnt out, had emotional issues, or issues, personal issues, not emotional, personal issues that they've had to deal with. And they've come to the chapter and said, look, this is what's happening to me. And everyone has embraced that situation. I'll have 2 or 3 weeks off and recharge. And during that time, people have still reached out for them. And that, I think, is where you're trying to end up with chapter members. It's not just giving business to each other. It's not just knowing their business. It's not knowing their buzzwords about how to get a referral, blah, blah, blah. The best chapters, in my view, and I'm still learning every day, is the relationships that you build from your one-to-ones. I mean, Robert's my business coach, and we had a one-to-one talk about my business. Well, we talked all about my emotional inadequacy for about an hour until he was bored, and then he said, yeah, it's up, time to go. I should be a psychologist. But the point is, he's interested and he cares, and he'll ring me out of the blue saying, how's it going? And that's got nothing to do with knowing how my business works or his business works. That's the relationships you get out of BNI, which you strive with. And you can't become great friends with everybody, but you can become a friend to help people through their business life. My sort of view on the ideal member of a BNI chapter is someone who owns their own business and is obviously committed to it. One who's probably too busy and is isolated in that, in my own case, I came from a 10-partner practice and 80 people to myself, and you need someone to ask the dumb questions for. I mean, as a lawyer, I say there are no dumb questions, and clearly I have clients that ask dumb questions, but it's only, the reality is it's not a dumb question for them, and it's like that in business. And the BNI network, apart from all the business benefits, which you can hear from other people about, the benefit it gives me, and I think it gives people who are joining the ability to do, is to not be isolated. And you can ring up and ask a really stupid question. You think stupid, but it's quite technically complicated. And you get that ability to give that information back. To expand that a little bit more, I got an email from someone in China, I think, or maybe Hong Kong anyway, asking about the very simple thing about publication of your photos on your house when you bought a house. And I've got 1 minute and 2 seconds to go. Thank you, Braith. That's good. I was going to ask about that. I want to know whether the agent could continue to publish their house, and also want to know whether it was private as to whether the information could be kept quiet. And well, I told them the sad news that it's a public issue, that after 3 months, the information is available. Everybody can work out how much you paid for your house. But my point is that's the same thing as being isolated. You can, all around the world, you can ask these dumb questions. So the most important message I can give you, in my humble opinion, is it's the relationships you bring, and you are not going to be referred to or refer out to people you don't know them more than just a business relationship. And if you follow all the BNI practices, they're tried and tested and they work very well. And I think that we're blessed with having someone like Braith, who is very communicative, and his team help us out tremendously. So with 3 seconds left, thank you very much for having the patience to sit through that boring 10-minute speech.
All right, guys. So I heard a lot of stuff being talked about this morning, which is really great. Just a quick one, just so you get a bit of a picture and a background. So as Helen said, we run a hybrid, which is Zoom in the room with our physical meeting. And that means that literally anyone can invite visitors on that Zoom as well as being in the room any week. And we're one of the very few chapters in Australia. Justine mentioned she's another one that actually do that. Which is really cool. I guess one of the things I would say, and I'm just going to use as a bit of a theme, guys, is don't be a passenger. Like everyone waits for someone else to do something in your chapter. And actually, if it's going to happen, it's up to you. Every single person here, it's up to you. You've all turned up today to an online meeting at 12 o'clock, right? All of you. And you've all given your time to come and network. So why wouldn't anyone else who doesn't know about BNI and has never visited a chapter actually do that? If you're prepared to do it, why wouldn't someone else who you know, like and trust and already probably do business with, want to come and do that as well? So it's a pretty straightforward, simple equation, right? If it's good enough for you, why is it good enough for people in your circle, right? Why would they not want to do it? And there's a lot of excuses I hear. I hear a lot of excuses. So our first thing is don't be a passenger. You really need to make sure that everyone in your chapter is not being a passenger. They have to be an active participant. They made a commitment when they joined BNI. So here's the thing. Did you know, and I just found this out literally just about 15 minutes ago, is that in BNI, online chapters actually don't hit their KPI in terms of inviting visitors. So they invite less than one a month per member in the online chapters. And it's all in your hands. It's actually all in your hands. It doesn't matter what I say. It matters what you do, right? It actually matters what you do. So we can get on as many of these sessions as we want, and I do a hell of a lot of them. I think I'm on one a week at the moment. And it's the people who actually listen and say, actually, you're right. I need to get off my bum and do something that actually succeed in BNI, because that's about giving back. That's how you help other members. You help other members by filling the room when it's their keynote. So when it's someone's keynote and they're asked, who do you want to have in the room next week? And someone goes out of their way to bring that person, you won't believe the reciprocal value in that and the way that actually helps build credibility and trust in the chapter. So it's really important. You're giving a gift. So think about how you can give someone else. I'll give you an example. I called someone. I had a real estate agent presenting in my chapter, and I literally recorded myself doing this. I've still got the videos. And I literally called 5 interior staging people because we had an open seat for that. And that's the person he said he wanted in the room. And I called 5 of them. And guess what, guys? When I said to the person, hey, we're having a meeting. I've got a real estate agent who owns this particular real estate agent. They're looking for an interior agent. Is that the sort of work you do? And every single one of the 5 said yes, right? And then they said, okay, cool. Do you have room to grow in your business? And they went, yes. And I went, okay, great. Well, would you like to meet them? They're like, absolutely. And they're like, thank you. Thank you for calling me. Thank you for the opportunity. Great. So you've got to come to our meeting because they're presenting this week, and your support of them showing up at the meeting, I'll do then an introduction directly for you, right? It's really simple, okay? You just invite people along and you actually help other members. Can you imagine how that person felt when they're doing a keynote and there's all these people in the room they've never met before, but was invited by someone else for them? It's an extraordinary way to give. So everyone talks about BNI Givers Gain. Are you actually doing it? Are you actually living and breathing Givers Gain? It's very easy to say. It's so easy, but it's actually doing that makes a difference. So are you prepared to put some time aside? I called 5 people. 5 people said they'd come, right? And that was in 20 minutes. I gave up 20 minutes of my entire week to give something to someone else. Are you prepared to do that for a fellow chapter member? I hear a lot of people, they go to chapters and they love each other. They say, we love all our members. I've got my best friends here. They're a great community. That's why I stay. I stay for the relationships. Well, if that's the case, why not help them? Why not build that relationship? Why not continue to help people, right? So that is one thing and one way to do it. The next thing is, when you get a new member, how well are you onboarding that member? How much time and love? So I just said this in a speech last week. If you were there, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to use the same line. But there's a song, right? It's actually a song, and it goes, I want to know what love is, right? I want to know what love is, right? That song is what every new member wants. They want to know what BNI love is. What's BNI love? When you first join a chapter, it's being shown how to use the system. It's being explained. It's being given opportunities to actually learn, right? And if you onboard members, rather than ignore them, rather than not invite them to the meeting, not making sure they know how to invite visitors, if you can teach them how to invite visitors and say, No one in your network knows about BNI because you're brand new to BNI. So why don't we invite 4 visitors in your first month and really get them some momentum and confidence and start them in the green? Can you imagine how members who start in the green stay in the green, right? If they start in the red, they're likely to stay in the red. So it's very important to start them on the right foot. So don't ignore new members. Make sure when new members come in, they get the very best of training and love. That's what Givers Gain is. Are you prepared to give Givers Gain? That's the question to this group today, right? And I could give you so many stories. Honestly, I can tell you that when I took over that chapter, that Helen talked about, we talked about, there's 17 people, there's now 40 odd people, and everyone wants to get in. Every week I've got people coming in for seats that are already taken. Well, guess what? They didn't want to come in when I needed people. I had 17, right? So they missed their opportunity. So it's a huge opportunity that you have in your chapter. If you've got seats available that are very, very common seats in BNI to fill, that you should be thinking about, who can I get to come and just visit? You don't have to tell them about BNI and all the things and how much it costs. Just get them to come and see the meeting. Just say, look, I can't explain it to you. You just have to come and see it and see what you think, right? And if you think it's for you, it's for you. It's not, that's okay. We don't need you to join. We just want you to come and look. So it's really simple. Just get people to your meeting and get them along and get them visiting, because that will help you. 335, I've nailed a lot already. If we go to the next point, right? Mindset, your chapter needs to be filled with people who want to make it work, who truly believe in what they're doing, and they're prepared to make the time to work for each other. So if you're an online meeting, just remember, meetings are for visitors. They're not for members to catch up. They're for visitors. So if you're running a meeting and you're focusing on the members talking to each other or doing their thing, that's missing an opportunity. It's all about creating value for visitors in the meeting. Now, that means that members should be putting time outside of the meeting to actually catch up with each other and put time into building relationships and learning more about each other. And so we've talked about those one-to-ones, but there's also social things. There's other things you can do. Social things, even online, are very important. Guys, if you're online, you've got the biggest opportunity in all of Australia and possibly the world, because you've got literally the whole of Australia. You can get the best people in your contact sphere to come in that you want to work with or you already work with. So if you've got people in your contact sphere that aren't in the room that you want to join, that you know you'd be able to give referrals to and do business and make referrals giving so easy, then get those people in the room. It doesn't matter where they are. You're an online chapter. This is the advantage you have, right? So make sure you're focused on that. And then just if you are running meetings, if you are a president in the room, your job is to run a really energetic, motivating meeting. You can see here, I'm passionate. Are you believing in what I'm talking to you about? Do you understand? Have I got your attention? I believe I might have. So, the reality here is you guys need to take action. It's up to you, but the president, your job, run the meeting, make it fun, make it happy, make it energetic. So when people walk out, they go, give me some more of that stuff. How do I get some more of that stuff? If people are leaving the meeting going, oh, it was ho-hum, that's what you need to work on as a president, right? And when you select your president's members, make sure that someone who can fulfill that job, because that's what that job is. It's actually inspiring people in the meeting and adding that motivation and value. That's what keeps people coming back. So let's make sure we do that. So I'm going to leave it here. We've got 1 minute 24. I'm going to leave you with something, and it's really, really clear. And I want you to take this away. What you put in and what you create will be the chapter that you end up with, right? So in 6 months' time, let alone it could even be 2 or 3 months' time, the chapter and the way it is a direct reflection on the members in the chapter, no one else. You can't blame BNI, you can't blame Braith or Helen or anyone else. It's the members of the chapter who will decide how good, how big, how strong, how wonderful the business is given in the chapter in 3 to 6 months' time. It's in your court. It's a direct reflection of you. Mic drop.